Ras Al Khaimah is one of 7 emirates that make up the United Arab Emirates. In its short history, the UAE has undergone massive development built on the wealth created by the discovery of oil. From the outside, it may appear that the UAE would have little need for the type of community music intervention identified by Higgins. Rak Voices started life as a choir at the Ras Al Khaimah Academy, where I had worked since 2009. I had no history of working with adults, nor was I a particularly confident singer, but armed with a few singing guides and a sense of adventure, I announced that I was starting a choir at the school after being inspired by the BBC TV show The Choir. Around 16 women of a range of nationalities and choral experiences attended the first rehearsal. We began with a simple call and response songs, some rounds, and worked towards a South African protest song, Asikatali. Positive word of the rehearsal spread, and in the next few weeks, new faces appeared. After a few successful performances, word of the choir spread out into the wider community, developing a core group of members who attended rehearsals regularly, and with some members who, as a result of work commitments, attended whenever they could. As a result, the quality of rehearsals could be unpredictable, depending on who was present and who was not. However, the organic nature of the choir's development fitted well with concepts surrounding community music. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Towards the end of 2013, due to a multitude of other commitments, I started to question whether or not I still had the motivation necessary to give appropriate quality of facilitation to the group. At the same time, a new music teacher, Alexandra, had joined the staff at the academy. She had become a regular member of the choir, and she seemed enthusiastic to take the choir forward in new directions. In 2014, Alexandra relaunched the choir using social media to actively attract and involve new members from the greater Rak community. Her efforts proved successful, and the choir developed a larger, more diverse core of members. She rebranded the choir as Rak Voices and was soon performing in venues around Ras Al Khaimah.
Share the joy of music, that's the most important thing, but also I would like us to learn something, to teach each other.
Alex articulates a vision for the choir as being a friendly group devoted to the art of choral singing. In September 2014, I attended the choir's first rehearsal of the educational year to meet members of Rak Voices and to find out a little bit more about the choir in its most recent incarnation. It was immediately evident that there was a much wider age range represented at the rehearsal than when the choir had originally started. Several academy students attended with their parents, adding a more intergenerational element to the group. The need to balance musical quality with social enjoyment and personal fulfillment is one of the most difficult elements of the facilitator's job. Achieving this balance remains a key issue amongst current members of Rak Voices.
And you can't really say to the members that, you have to do this, you have to do that. It has to come from you. So.
I also think that when it comes to building on quality and competitiveness and so forth, you're in danger of putting people off as well as the choir. Because, for example, I never learned how to read music. Yep. I kind of picked it up, sort of, but I never really learned it. So when you come the same way, it's lovely to sing without having to work so very hard, I think, on it. Like the pleasure factor should be there to make it more fun.
Alex's friendly and charismatic welcome throughout the rehearsal agreed with many values associated with Higgins' notions of community music as a mode of intervention and an act of hospitality. Song choices invited the participation of novice singers, but allowed room for experienced singers to stretch themselves. And an invitation for everyone to make contributions to the development of the group sit well within the context of what CM tries to achieve. 'Cause every little thing's gonna be alright.
I think it would be really motivating if we as a choir would have our own show where people come to us.
Okay.
So it would make us feel like, we're wanted when you sort of
Reflecting on these thoughts, I feel that such ambition would serve dual purposes. Firstly, to improve the sense of identity of Rak Voices as a collective. And secondly, and perhaps more importantly, to reaffirm the message that despite the abundance of money in the UAE, there are some elements of a balanced and successful and well-lived life that have no relationship to financial wealth. Rak Voices provides a healthy example of community music in an environment which the needs of such a project are not immediately obvious. It functions as a much-needed social counterbalance to an environment where materialistic values have overrun many aspects of modern life. In this respect, the creation of a community of musical endeavour which works towards social cohesion does fit with the idea of not simply conforming to the more materialistic environment that predominates in the UAE.